In today's session, it's based on the theme for the month, which is about forward fold positions. But as always, it's really more important to emphasize breathing. So we'll do a really lovely breathing exercise close to the beginning of this session. It's a little bit dismal here, weather-wise, and so I've sparked up by having my scarf, my cravat on, and my red earrings, and trying to be a little bit cheery. We're going to start with a exercise that's called a body-mind weather report, and that means that we're going to be lying down right from the very beginning, not like the Shavasana where sometimes we just drift off, but doing a check-in, a scan of our body and mind. So to that end, I've got a nice setup with these props behind me. So there's a bolster that's propped up with a block underneath it and a folded blanket in front of the bolster. And when you take your reclining position using those props, it's really a really nice setup because it gives you a little bit of a lift from the outset, opening your chest. So if you would now take that lying down position. If you wanted to, and it suits your body, you could have your legs bent and butterflied out to the side in what we call Baddha Konasana or Supta Baddha Konasana. If that's not so suitable for you at this time, then you might just have your legs out straight. The main message is just to settle in and probably close your eyes. And take time to do a scan of your body, as I was saying, from head to hands to feet, and just appreciating the body on that physical level. And taking this time to relax your face and your facial features. And then traveling in a downward direction, and what does your neck feel like at this time? Your shoulders, your upper limbs from shoulders to elbows to the tips of your fingers. What you're looking for is to release any tension, if possible, wherever you encounter it. And if not, then just bringing your kindly attention onto all the body parts, your belly, your pelvis, your lower limbs, right down to the tips of your toes, and coming fully into your physical body, right here at the beginning of the session. And in this kind of assessment that we're doing on all the levels that we appreciate in a yoga check-in, come to rest your attention on your breath and feel the breath as it moves in and out. It's very easy for me when I do this attention on my breath is to notice it right at the tip of my nose. The breath comes in, the breath comes out. And in that particular place, I can feel the breath cooler on entry and warmer as it exits. Notice any restrictions in your breathing, and maybe even the cadence of the breath. And I think we can appreciate that the breath is intimately related to the energy that you experience in your body. So this might be a time for you to check in and see how that is for you. Did you get up this morning and you were just completely topped up with energy and ready to go? Or did you have a slow start? Or someplace in between on that spectrum. It's really great to understand your energy level as you proceed through the class so that you can manage and do self-care as far as how you approach your practice. And then you might pay attention to the thoughts that are coming and going across the screen of your mind. Is there an association of thought activity, or is there one single thought that you're noticing more than others? And whatever you notice there, just let the thoughts come and go without hanging on to any one of them, if possible. And thoughts are intimately connected with our feelings, our emotions. So there might be some mood or tone of yourself that you've been experiencing today. And that's really useful information. And finally, in this kind of all-over check-in, you can bring the attention to how we feel as far as being able to include ourselves. Can we feel into the whole of our body? Can we include the room that we're in, the environment that we're in? And maybe even include ourselves in our neighborhood, our community. So having arrived at completing this exercise, you might begin to think of moving without even moving yet. And just when you're ready to do that, bend your legs, roll off your props to the side, and come up to a seated position. For a breathing exercise, so get comfortable. We're going to be here for 3 or 4 minutes. So adopting your most upright yoga position while you're seated. I'm sitting kneeling, or you can sit cross-legged. Sit on a prop if it makes you feel like you're more upright. And then place your hands onto your thighs, palms upwards, and your elbows just near to the sides of your rib cage. When you look down at your hands and your fingers are going to be counters for counting through 10 cycles of breathing. And we'll do this in a particular way. The breathing is called the Hu breath. So counting from 1 to 10, let's go through those cycles. Your inhalation will be full and opening your chest, and your exhalation, purse your lips and let the sound of the breath out as a Hu sound. So inhaling and I wouldn't want to predict your experience, but as you continue with these breaths, I want to make that sound, the who sound, a pleasant sound. So not stressing about how to do it correctly or anything, just so it makes a pleasant sound in your ears. The inhalation full right up to the brim of your chest, and the exhalation drawing the navel back slightly to release the exhalation completely. Let's just do a couple more of those breaths and notice along the way whether you're recruiting other parts of your body to help you breathe. And if possible, just keep a kind of passive body position, just emphasizing the fullness of the inhalation and the exhalation. No tension in your shoulders or your face. And when you finish those cycles, just pausing for a moment and feeling the results of that more restricted breathing. And then we're going to come to lie down and continue the breath emphasis. So reclining on your back. Just get all these props out of the way. When you're lying down, your legs are bent and your feet on the floor near to your buttocks. And a very important and familiar pose is Apanasana. So lifting one foot up, the other foot up. Just rest your hands onto the front of your knees with your arms feeling relatively passive. I call this kind of breathing that we're about to do the framed breath. So the breath is the frame of the movement. So let's try one of those. Take an inhalation and then draw the knees towards you. Complete the movement and then complete the exhalation right to the end. Inhalation begins and knees move away from you to open up your chest. Movement completes and then the inhalation, a little bit more breath in, and then we start the next round. Exhaling, the movement starts. The movement concludes, the exhalation concludes. And then continuing in that manner, which is an interruption of maybe the habitual breathing that you would do in this pose. But it allows for more depth of breathing and the focus of the breath in the lower abdominal area, where the apana vayu is, an energetic center of the body. So we're aiding the organs of elimination and digestion as well. Let's do just a couple more. And if you will, especially when you bring your thighs closer to your ribs, see if at the same time you can move your sitting bones towards the floor. You just want to preserve as much of the natural lumbar arch as possible. after the next exhalation, inhale and bring your feet to the floor where you started. Now, fold your arms so that your hands rest on your belly, one below the navel, one above the navel, and then feel the breath there. And let's do another simple breathing exercise. When you inhale, inflate the abdomen. And when you exhale, draw the abdominal wall towards the back of your body. And let's do several cycles like that, where it's such a simple movement, but in a way it's very powerful because you're working with a pelvic tilt, the tilt of your pelvis. This might be a breath rhythm that you take into doing the bridge pose, but we're not going there just yet. Feel that rocking of the pelvis. And notice what a difference it makes if you keep your footprints firmly into the mat. What do you notice with the inhalation when you do that, and also the exhalation? Tiny movements, important movements. And let's finish with an exhalation. Release your hands by your side. And now we'll move on to come up to standing. And all the way up. Now, I haven't mentioned a couple of other props that will be useful today. And one of them is a belt. So grab your yoga strap. And for later in the session, I have a chair. I'm going to keep my strap over my shoulders, just so I don't have to go looking for it. But we'll start with the position near to the wall, and the wall is there to help us keep our balance in tree pose, in Vrishkasana. So with the right side facing the wall, lift up your right foot and place your right foot on your left thigh. I'm going to wedge my knee in at the wall. When I've done that, my knee is pretty much out at a right angle, not exactly a right angle. And if I draw a line of energy back from my right knee through my groin into my hip, it allows me to start using the outer hip muscles. At the same time as you do that, compact your hips so that the left hip moves towards the right hip, the right to the left. And you're reliant on the wall now, but you might be standing up straighter just because you're using those important outer hip muscles. Then bring your hands into prayer position. Feel the strength of your standing leg and right down into a firm ankle and a feeling where your footprint is really supporting you. And if you like, then extend up your arms. Don't lose the sensation through the outer hips. Lovely. And then lowering back to prayer position and down, and right leg down, and spin around, and let's do second side. Your right leg is your weight-bearing leg, and now we're going to place the sole of the left foot wherever it can go along that leg. So it can be even on the floor if need be. Ankle, knee, I've got mine on my thigh and settling in, And making that strong connection, thigh bone to hip, left leg, right hip towards the midline of the body. And standing there in my best height, elongated with the hands in front of the chest. Good. If you lift your elbows a little bit, you can even feel more that sense of good yoga posture. And then if you wish, arms up overhead. And at the same time as you lower the arms, lower the left leg. Let's have one more round. It's such a beneficial pose. And if you feel like you don't need the wall at all, then you might be free balancing there. I'm going to give it a go. Get your balance first. Get that nice constraint through the hips, so the outer hip muscles switch on. Draw the lower abdomen up and the pelvic floor up. And once you get your balance there, and if you do, bring your arms straight overhead. And if you don't, the wall is there for support, and it gives you a chance to work on the strengthening part of the pose. Sometimes we overlook this. And arms come down, and leg comes down, and left side facing the wall. All right, move slowly. And then positioning yourself, tree pose, left leg up, right leg rooted down into the ground, and then the hands in prayer position if that works for you. If it doesn't, then keep one hand onto the wall or raise your arms overhead. Feel the arms connect with the lift of the shoulder blades and the lengthening through the whole outer rib area, waist area. And then lowering down, under control. And good work. Let's do a little something for upper arms and tricep muscle, the underneath of the upper arm. So take a spot at the wall. Let's see. And bring your forearms onto the wall. Once you bend your elbows like this and bring your hands into prayer position, from your little finger side of your hand to your outer wrist, to your elbows, onto the wall. And then this is our first forward fold position. So moving your feet back away from the wall, then we begin to stretch the spine. At the same time, as you press forearms into the wall, draw the upper thighs back, right where the crease of the hips is. So feel that deepen as you move your buttocks further away from your head. Beautiful. Take a little walk in and release. So where we're working is from the elbow to the armpit. And it's a muscle that is often not strong, but it's also very stiff. So if you're working this pose, that's where you want to be working, is to stretch out of that stiffness. Let's go again. And stepping back. Now I'm going to come down a little bit lower this time, just by sliding my elbows down and bringing my torso more parallel with the floor. And then let's find our way into the hip fold and draw the crease of the upper leg and lower abdomen back away from the wall. Press into your arms, and then can you feel that arm muscle? It's kind of a lonely part of the body. We don't really pay that much attention to it. And then let's come right in. And take your palms flat to the wall. I'm going to place my palms out from my lower ribs. And open your hands, open your thumbs, and then this time stepping back and probably a little further because you've got more space to do that when the arms are straight and away from the wall. So very simple, we call this half uttanasana, where the hands and the pads of your fingers pressing into the wall. And then as you cross stretch, you can move the top thighs farther and farther away from the wall. Good. And even here, you might tilt the sitting bones up towards the ceiling. If need be, keep your knees a little bit bent. Just work for that tilt of the pelvis, tailbone up. And then let's walk all the way in. And you've done some really great preparation for downward facing dog pose. Take a kneeling position on your mat. And we're going to use the wall. So walk your feet right back to the wall. I've got my toes coiled under and my hands a little forward of my shoulders. When you're ready, first lift your back up towards the ceiling, press into your palms, and with that curve shape of the belt, draw the navel up and push up. Looking back at your feet, I've got a skirting board here. I'm going to lower my heels onto the top of the skirting board. And then drawing your crease of your hips back and back. A couple of deeper breaths. And then let's come to kneeling again. And then child's pose and folding back. Bring your elbows down. Bring your elbows back towards your knees. And just rest there for a moment. I've got my hands folded and resting my forehead on my hands. And that was such a thoughtful pose. Let's do it all over again. Take your feet back to the wall if you've come away. Take your hands forward. I'm going to move my hands a little farther away from the wall than I did the first time. And navel lifts up, hips lift up. And it's very nice feeling to have my heels elevated like this, because I can create a two-way stretch. So as I anchor my heel bones, I'm pushing back towards the wall. And little by little straightening my leg and tilting my buttock bones up. Beautiful. And then kneeling down and elbows down and head down. Child's pose. Nothing to do for a moment. Just consolidate. If there was some effort in that for you, let all the effort go out of your shoulders, out of your body. All right. Now, the belt. Forgot about the belt. So in this standing pose that we're about to do, come on all the way up. And I'm going to do this pose with the help of the wall. So I'm standing right back to the wall. My heels are about 2 or 3 centimeters away from the wall, and I can rest my buttocks and maybe even my shoulder blades on the wall. So we're going to do this nice leg stretch, you could call it. Feel that sensation that you did through your hips when you were doing tree pose. In fact, you could even bring your hands onto your outer hips and kind of squeeze into the mid-body. And as you do that, then the glutes come into play. Standing on your left foot, raise your right knee for Utthita Hastu Padangustasana, which is also called big toe pose. If I lift my knee up like this and clasp my hands around the front of it, I can lift my knee a little bit higher. And then it's closer in so that I can catch the belt around my right foot and then begin to extend the leg. Right leg extends. And here, there's an aspect of forward fold because you're bringing your leg towards you, not necessarily your torso towards your leg. Can you drop the outer right hip and let that sink down a little bit so that the crease of the hip is a little deeper? So that raised leg. Notice if you have a vice-like grip on the belt, you can soften your hands a little bit and switch on your quadricep. Not too bad. And then let's go other side. And there on your right foot, the right footprint, feel that foot, the ankle strong as you begin to lift your left knee. I'm going to bring the knee up a little bit higher with the help of my hands. And then lasso your left foot. Keep the knee high as you extend the leg. And then perhaps you filed away the feeling of the outer hips. See if you can make them compact again. And breathing. And then gently folding the leg in and releasing. And we took this help of the prop. Let's leave it to the side now and see what happens if we repeat that with just the work through the leg muscles and the extension of the leg. So right knee up and without props and extending the right leg out. And then folding that knee in again and down. So I can feel that I can probably do with quite a few practices with that movement because my front thigh muscle a little bit weak there. And as you ground yourself through your right foot, right leg, then lift up your left knee closer to you. Maybe you can wean yourself away from the wall. And then left leg straightening. Keep your balance. And last chance, maybe we'll bring the arms up. Good. As you lower your arms, keep the leg up and contain the hips again and lower down. And it will feel very nice for me, perhaps for you too. Give your legs a shake out. Just feel the quadriceps loose on the bone. Very good. Let's continue with a couple more standing poses. Take a wide leg position on your mat and bring along your yoga block, your foam block. Then step out wide and place the block out in front of you at just the reach of your arm. So what is a wide stance? It's where you feel that you are somewhat challenged, but not definitely not off balance. So square your feet, and then if I bring my fingers together like this and place them in the hip fold, I'm going to do a forward bend from there. So as that leg crease deepens and I come forward, I'm still going to keep my chest up. And then the block is there just for the taking. So the block is on the high end, both hands resting onto the top of the block. Relax your shoulders. Look out towards the carpet in front of you or the floorboards in front of you and lean out. And create length at the back of your thighs from the back of your knees to your buttock bones. So we're not really going to go down anymore here. We'll just think about the top chest and open up the collarbones. Open up the top chest as much as you can. Feel like you're leading with the heart center. And then that was a very nice movement. And we're going to come up, bend your knees a little bit, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale and come up, and all the way to standing. I've been practicing a movement that I've learned really recently, and I really like it. So we'll do a lateral and forward stretch. Bring your left hand onto your left hip. Bring your right arm up towards the ceiling. And on the exhalation, reach for the left leg. Forward bending towards that leg, and then inhale and come up all over again. Right hand, right hip, with the breath, movement of the breath. Inhale, left arm up, reach out and over to the right leg. And let's do a few of those. So can we create it so it's a flowing movement which is mitigated by the breath? So one side, and then the other side. I think we started on the left side, so let's finish with the forward bending laterally to the right side. And come all the way up. Bring your arms out wide to the side. Take up your space, a wide stretch, and then bring your hands onto your hips and shuffle your feet in. For the moment, relax your shoulders and then step out all over again. All right, and then let's take the very first position we did, which was the forward fold. We could call this a version of Prasarita Padottanasana with the chest up, opening the chest. And then merely bring your right hand to the top of the block. Bring your left hand onto your left hip. And then start to rotate and turn and looking towards the left side. And there'll be kind of a place where you meet some resistance. And then just relax your shoulders. Allow your gaze to look upwards, and that will help you lift the right side of your chest. And then back to center. And let's go the other way. Right hand, right hip. And turning. And shoulders back. Gaze upwards. Beautiful. Back to center. Pause. And we'll do something a little differently here. So right hand is still your supporting hand. And left hand, left hip. Keep your gaze downwards and you're looking to your hand on the top of the block. and then turn your chest. So still rotating towards the left side and keeping the head facing down. Back to center, swap your grip, left hand supporting right hand hip, and you're looking down and you're turning. And where are you turning from? Your left shoulder blade, the left side of your body, right shoulder comes back. Let's see if our shoulders are warmed up enough to take the next step. Right hand supporting, left hand, left hip. This time free up your neck and turn as much as you wish to the left side. And when you've done that, you've turned as much as you wish or you can, then see how it goes. Bring up your left arm. See if there's a little bit more scope for you. Use your breath. Turn from your right shoulder blade. Well done. And then let's swap it over. And the supporting hand there. And we've turned head, shoulders, upper body, all the way around to the right side. And then freeing up the right hand, if you wish, and extending it towards the ceiling. And a little bit more rotation, if that works for you, from your left shoulder blade. Good. Take support from the block, back to center, and then heel, toe, and all the way back in, and inhaling and coming up. Good work. Let's take a kneeling position. When you're kneeling, you're upright, so not sitting on your heels. Take a kneeler, an extra fold of a blanket or your mat if you need to for your knees. And then with your hands onto your hips, let's bring left leg out to the left. And the sole of the foot is down. And then I hope you still have your block near to you. Place your block on the outside of your right knee, just at a reach of your arm. Your arm is straight. And then come all the way upright again. So torso is in the center, right above your pelvis. And then let's do a lean out towards the right side and bring your right hand to the top of the block. So I have the suppleness that allows me to do that sideways movement easily. So I'm going to bring the block down a peg. That works better for me. And then from here, we've got support with the straight arm, left hand down to the left hip. And then let's see if we can get more lateral extension. Bend your left arm, stretch your left arm up towards the ceiling. Your arms make a cross of the body now, and then let's take the left arm to the right side. Turn your palm to the right, and then extend that arm as though you were stretching it from your left foot. Left arm from your left foot, shoulders back. Oh, that's such a nice opening. And then left hand, left hip, and coming up. Once you're upright, let's try the other side. So I'm not going to switch legs. And this is the more traditional pose called Parigasana, gate pose. So if you still have my left leg out to the left, turn my left palm upwards and rest it on the left leg. So I'm halfway there. And then the right arm up towards the ceiling. And then a little stretch over that straight leg. It's an awkward stretch. It always has felt like an awkward stretch. So I'm just going to, flirt with it. So I'm not going to go into my full extension. I'm going to see if I can lift up out of my left ribs That seems to help me engage my core muscles. All right, and then arms down, fold that leg in, and second side. Right leg out to the right. You could say the right heel lines up with the front of the left knee. I've got my block set up, and then I'm going to reach into it with my left arm. Good. Mindful of my right side and lengthening my right leg, shoulders back and down, and then right arm up towards the ceiling. Good. And then that arm at a reach, turn your palm towards the left side, extend the left arm over your left ear. Got it backwards. Right arm over your right ear, and reach and stretch back into your right leg. Good. And then windmilling your arms and coming up, and arms come down. We're going to keep that leg just so, and right palm upwards, right hand onto the top of the thigh, and just a small lean out towards the right leg. Left arm comes up, and then see if I can access those core muscles again, and lift up on the right waist, away from the right hip, as I stretch to the right. Good. And coming all the way up, and let's fold the legs in, and just, if that works for you, sit on your heels, or sit on a block. Rest your hands onto your thighs, relax your shoulders. All right, we've completed the series of standing poses or kneeling poses. So let's work into some forward stretches and take some kind of platform to sit on. I've got a 3-fold blanket here. And as well, my belt. Those are going to be handy. Sometimes a block will be handy too. And once seated and you're able to extend out the legs together and feet together, you're in Dandasana, that most simple of yoga poses. However, I can feel that I'm a little bit slumped in my lower back, so I'm going to see if I can do something about that. So if I pull my buttocks back a little bit, and then also move my torso forward. So I'm more on the moving towards the front of my sitting bones. And let's work with the breath here. So leaving all props to the side. Inhale and bring your arms up. And exhale, come into a modified forward bend, just a gentle forward bend. If we do this for several cycles, we can start the breathing before we start the movement. And it's inhale, and then arms come up, completing the inhalation, and then exhaling, and coming forward, the movement completes, the exhalation completes. And let's just move through those simple cycles like that. Inhalation completes, exhalation begins, the movement begins. All right, let's make that last exhalation completing the cycles, then back to upright. You've had a good example of what it's like to have your hamstrings um, involved in forward stretching. So we're going to get them out of the way to a certain extent. Bring your left leg out to the left and bend your right leg in. So you could say right leg is in Baddha Konasana, folded in, and for the most part, there's a wide distance, as wide as you can get between the legs. Then let's turn towards the bent leg. Bring your hands on either side of the right knee and begin to take yourself into forward flexion. Now at this point, your left buttock is lifting off the floor, as is mine, and just allow for that. And we're just going to take that stretch out as much as you like, or as much as you're able to. With a little bit of a rotation towards the right side. Then begin to come back upright and your hands back. If we square ourselves with the center space between the legs, we can also do a forward stretch that way. So once your hands are out in front of the right foot, in front of the pelvis, then take as much or as little of that forward stretch as you like. What do you notice that's a difference between the bent leg stretch and the forward stretch here? All right, and then pull it all in, upright. Let's go one more side. So from your seated position, and the trunk is still upright, turn towards the straight leg and turn from right to left. The right side of your body turning towards the left side. And then little by little extend out over that left leg. When you meet resistance and you start to bow your back, then back off a little bit and return to lifting up. So you're upright through the front of your body without being uptight through your shoulders. Okay, and you've done some amazing hip work there and leg work. Fold the left leg in and right leg straight out to the right side. And starting going to the left towards the bent leg and easing forward and outwards. And as you take the right hip is lifting up, just soften through that leg and allow the momentum to be in a stretch, a little bit of a lateral stretch over the left leg. And as you come up now and all the way upright, square and facing directly into that space between the legs in front of the left foot, bring your hands forward. Now bring some tone into the right leg. So not quite so floppy as it was in the first variation. And extend out into the right heel. You're on the center of the right heel as you extend forward. Okay, and then pull it all in and turn right And hands on the either side of the right leg. I'm going to stop as soon as I've turned so I can reintroduce a lift. So feel the frontal body from the lowest part of your torso right up to your shoulders, lifting up. And then turning as you are away from the bent leg and extending long as you can over your right leg. Good. And then pull back and let's fold the both legs in to cross-legged position where your shin bones are crossed. And we're going to take the block and do a little switch of our momentum here. Lying down, take up your block. On your back, and this is what I call the wide position. I'm going to place that between my inner thighs. So we're doing a little bit of counter posing after those lateral and forward bending movements in that version of Janu Sirsasana. So I've got the block between my legs just above my knees, and I'm going to squeeze against it. And you might remember that sensation of the glutes, the outer hips switching on as you do this. And then release for a moment. And then press in again. You can take a couple of breaths there, so you're not merely holding your breath. And release. And all over again, and pressing. Let it go. Let's try it slightly differently so that when you use the block this time, and this is what I call medium range, you've got the block once again in that same position between your upper thighs, and step your feet as close in as you can. I can very nearly get my feet all the way together. And then let's do a little rocking movement. So gripping against the block, tilting right, and tilting left. If we do a sequence of these movements, we're not aiming to get the knees to the floor. In fact, you're keeping both feet on the floor. The opposite hip will lift up a little, but not a lot. And gripping against the block keeps the glute med muscles engaged. And probably your core muscles too. And that might be enough of that. Bringing your knees upright, pop the the block out, and let's come all the way upright. Now's the time for a chair. And I'll place the chair on the towards the short end of my mat. And for my body, I still need support to sit on. So I'll place that. And then finally, a bolster. So these big fat bolsters work really well. And keeping that by my side, have a seat. And back to cross-legged position. Take your bolster and place it in your lap. That's about as accurate as I can describe that. So just sitting there onto your lap, and then the back of the bolster supported onto the chair. I really love this pose. I don't know why, but I think it's comforting in this version of a forward stretch to have the frontal body resting on a soft prop. And my arms wrapped around the bolster and head turned to the side can also be straight forward. Notice when you're presented with a more restorative pose, how your breath might change. Release, let go. No need to work the shoulders. They can be idle. They can drop out. You might want to lift up the breastplate, lift up and stretch up. Create a little bit more length there from the pubic bone to the diaphragm, to the sternum, and then go back to resting again, full rest. So much more inviting and easy to do forward stretching with the hamstrings out of the way. That's what I find. And it would be nice to stay here for some time. And you can always come back to this pose. All yoga poses are portable. But now we're going to switch the cross of the legs and repeat. Recross your legs. Because this is the second side, it's often more awkward to sit like this. So do what you can to get a more comfortable seated position. Draw the buttock flesh out. And then if you had your head turned one way, you might experiment with having your head the other way. But really, the main thing is utmost comfort. Feel the frontal body letting go as it's supported, kind of melting into the bolster. The shoulders melting down towards the back waist. Something else I notice here, which is that it's just easy to pay attention to my breath. I can feel my belly breathing, the solar plexus, the chest, the lungs. There's a couple more breaths there, so you come out when you're ready to come out. And once you're sitting straight again, Give those legs a stretch out underneath the chair. Flex your feet, draw your toes back towards your knees, extend out through your heels. And then we're going to set up for the yoga relaxation using the chair, sometimes called chair shavasana. So I've got a couple of blankets, and I'm going to use one of them over the seat of the chair. It just makes it a nicer place to put my legs. Second blanket to support the back of my head and my neck. And once I'm quite ready now to bring my legs up, I'm very close to the chair with my buttocks. So that means that the angle behind my knees is close to a right angle. Then do whatever moving around you need to do through your hips. Until it feels like you're well settled on the back of the pelvis and the sacrum, the pelvic rim, the back muscles. And then give yourself over to relaxation. Maybe your eyes are closed or covered with an eye bag or soft cloth. And we'll go full circle back to the early part of the session where you were aware of the breath, but here as the watcher, not trying to control it or impose your will on it in any way. And you're just watching the easy coming and going. You're the witness of your own breathing. Invariably and inevitably, your attention will glance away from your breath, in which case, notice what calls to you, and perhaps just let it be, and let the breath take center stage again. So every breath you take is the pathway to a deeper sense of letting go. We're getting near to the completion of this most important of yoga poses, Shavasana. And you wouldn't want to rip yourself off by ending it too quickly. So only move out of the pose as you feel that you're ready to. And in a leisurely fashion. Coming back up. Take a couple of breaths in side lying position. And eventually, seated once again. And let's complete our practice in that traditional way of joining hands in front of the chest, which is more for me a felt experience of connecting with my heart center. So perhaps for you too, feeling into your heart center and the goodwill there, your own inherent goodness that's helped through the practices we do in yoga. And then finally, in touch with those feelings, send them out into the wide world for everyone. Namaste.